what does community mean?
You can actually understand evolution from the lens of how community has evolved.
People are so influenced by their own narrative.
Of course.
We have the most complex brain and also the most complex communities. I can't understand a person from the outside, let me try and understand them from the inside.
Why are you not managing your time? What is your story? Who am I? What makes me tick? Why do I wake up in the morning and feel good about me?
Community essentially is your identity gone beyond yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. How do you go about building a trust in a community?
I'm in the jungle and I come across you. That interaction entirely depends on trust. How do I know whether should I cooperate with you or kill you? If you bring it down to an individual level, that is why biases are a part of the human brain.
It is, yeah.
Right? Unless you suffer from the lack of growth, you will not grow.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's actually...
Well
That's
said.
the point.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to Regalium's podcast. I'm Sadiksha from the Machani Group, and today we're going to be exploring a question that feels increasingly relevant in our rapidly changing environment. That is, what does the new social contract look like? Joining me are two incredibly insightful voices. We have Smita Tharoor, an international keynote speaker, a TEDx presenter, coach, and a podcast host. She is also the co-founder for Culturalytics, which uses AI to decode organizational culture, and the founder of Tharoor Associates, a consultancy focused on leadership, development, training, and coaching. And of course, not to miss out, we have Dr. Warrier, a neurologist, speaker, and an expert in human behavior, whose work helps decode how our brain shapes the way we think, connect, trust, and engage with the world around us. Welcome. It's lovely to have you both on the podcast. Thank you so much for coming. Today, we'll be unpacking what community truly means, the psychology behind human connection, whether modern ecosystems are bringing us together or quietly pulling us apart. So before I dive into this, I would love to get a little introduction on you two and your career paths, and how did you come about choosing the path that you did today? Smita.
I think it's purely instinctive. So, as I mentioned earlier to you, I was born in Bombay, grew up in Calcutta, went to university in Rajasthan, come from Kerala. I had a genuinely, pan-India upbringing. English is my first language, Malayalam is my second, and then when I was in my 20s, I moved to London, and it just after my degree, after my undergrad. And it's when I arrived in London and I looked at other people who looked like me. In other words, people who are brown-skinned, people who look Indian but probably never been to India in their lives. It began to make me realize how much we take for granted. What is our upbringing about? We just live our lives without questioning it. You go to school where you do, you eat what you do, your friends are your friends, and you don't think about it. We never very rarely do. It's only on reflection. So when I'd never gone abroad at that point. I'd only traveled within India. And now I was in London, and I'm talking to people who look like me, and I realized that, gosh, I had a very privileged upbringing. And when I use the word privilege, and I'm not talking about money in the bank, because my parents certainly did not have that. Tax was high, and he was an employee in the Statesman newspaper in Calcutta, my dad. My mother was a homemaker. But the privilege of being brought up with one of inclusion, with one of being non-judgmental, and I took it completely for granted, with a life where religion, caste, sexuality, gender, I'm giving you 4 examples, I can give you another 44, but we don't have time. But these are big ones in India today, were never thrust upon us as binary, were never suggested as good and bad, better and worse. All was the same. Homosexuality, for example. Somebody who was gay in our building in Calcutta. So we knew, everybody knew, and at no point did my parents say, either to my brother, let's say, oh God, you mustn't go to so-and-so because it's so big deal. That's his preference. And the other obvious ones like religion and gender and caste did not prevail in our home. So why am I even saying a long answer to your short question? The more I reflected on this, and the more I realized, gosh, whether it's in India or whether it's in the United Kingdom or whether it's in anywhere else in the world, people are so influenced by their own narrative.
Of course.
And that then impacts on pretty much everything we do.
Yeah.
And so my very first job, and I'm talking about 100 years ago, was for a company called Granada Leisure that does television and bingo halls and all sorts. And I was area personnel and training officer, so you realize now how long ago that was. Personnel then became HR and all sorts. And they asked me to create some training workshops, and I began to think, time management, hang on, no. Why are you not managing your time? What is your story?
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
But it is, though, it has to be.
Yeah.
Entirely, it has to be, and I've been doing this for more than 30 years. I live it and breathe it. So long answer to your short question. Over to you, Siddharth.
Oh, wow. Much shorter answer. It was very simple, my journey, because I was born in a family where my dad is a doctor and my mom is a music teacher. And very early on, I felt like I had to pick.
Sorry, are you the first child in your
I
family?
am.
Aha,
So the first
good
child had to
question.
be a
Always.
doctor.
Oh, that's another thing, yes.
Because that pressure was not there on my younger brother.
Of course not, I'm the
Yeah, of
youngest.
course not.
But there was no pressure on my eldest brother either.
All right.
Yeah.
So
We
I
were
had to
lucky.
pick.
It's
and
always the first child that has to
it's
bear the
always the
brunt
first
for
one.
it. Yeah.
Always. And every mistake is amplified in the first one and diminished in
We
the
haven't
second.
got a clue, that's why.
So I decided to be a doctor when I was very young. Even before truly knowing what being a doctor meant, I saw what my dad was going through, and I felt like I always liked science. And children have a very strange view of science. You know, it just feels that science is the answer to all my curiosities. So I loved looking at the childcraft books and reading about all the universe books and underwater books. So I felt like science is where all the answers lie. Once I got into medicine and started treating patients, I realized that my curiosity actually lies in human behavior.
Interesting.
Because that is where it felt like the most interesting questions lie. Why are people the way they are? Why am I the way I am?
Couldn't agree more.
And then I realized something that is absurd about the Indian academic system. Psychology does not come inside medicine.
Oh.
So if I choose science and I become a doctor, I can't become a psychologist. Psychology comes in arts.
Interesting.
I did psychology in my undergrad.
Yes, that's actually true. It comes under arts.
English literature and psychology, double major.
It's a strange
Yeah.
thing though.
Yeah.
Because ultimately a psychologist is also taking care of a
There's
person.
no question about
Yes.
that. Yeah.
And there should be an overlap.
It is the science behind your human brain.
Exactly. And I'm not saying there's no art in medicine,
Yeah.
but there should be a way of bridging that. So that's when I felt like I want to go into neurology, because it's a roundabout way of getting to that same topic. Because
Lovely.
if I can't understand a person from the outside, let me try and understand them from the inside. And once I became a neurologist, I got interested in neuroscience, and I started getting interested in mental health, trying to understand the mechanics of mental health. And over the last few years, thankfully because of the pandemic, when I found myself with some free time, I started teaching people neuroscience on Zoom calls. And then that led to a YouTube channel, that led to me sort of doubling down on this journey. So I'm now a neurologist who looks after mental health. That's been my journey.
Interesting, very, very interesting. So yes, so since today we're unpacking what the new social contract means, I would first like to begin right from the top, right? What does community mean, right? And of course, I would like to understand from both your perspectives the neuroscience behind how do you build trust within the community that you're building.
Do you want to go? And I can follow.
Happy to. So community would probably be the one factor that has remained consistent throughout evolution. Throughout evolution, you can actually understand evolution from the lens of how community has evolved. So much of the brain has been evolving to make community easier and safer and better. Because if you look at the fundamentals of the brain, the most primitive parts of the brain, it is very individualistic. So if you look at, say, an amoeba or an algae or a jellyfish, it is very individualistic in the sense that if I touch a jellyfish, it will withdraw. That is the extent of its nervous system. But as the brain kept evolving, it figured out how to coexist with other members of the same species and how to grow with other members of the same species. So the complexity of the brain is reflected in the complexity of the community it has built, leading up to us, where we have the most complex brain and also the most complex communities. Although now we know that dolphins, orcas and sperm whales also have extremely complex communities. In fact, just 3 months ago, we decoded sperm whale language. I don't know if you guys heard this, but with AI, we were actually able to understand what sperm whales are talking to each other.
Gosh.
Oh, how
and
lovely.
It turns out that they have midwives. So when one sperm whale is giving birth, there is another sperm whale from another tribe, another community, who will come in just for delivering the baby and then leaving.
How lovely.
So they have really complex communities.
Intelligent, I must say.
They are. Of course they are. We know.
Very much so.
But with the idea of community, you know, you're talking about, I mean, it's been there from the Neanderthals, as you correctly said. And but then what is community? We've got different kinds of community. You've got, for example, a worship community. Perhaps there is a group of you who will go to the mosque regularly, and that's your community. Then there will be a community of friends, friendships. I mean, I have been part of a book group of just 6 women, but we are still part of a small community. Because it matters to us. So 25 years now, we've been meeting every month, and very opinionated 6 women reading books, talking about books, and sharing ideas. But that is also a community. So you could have an organization of 3,000 employees who are proud to say, I am part of the Machani group. And I don't know how many employees you have in your organization, but that's also a community. And so I think the whole idea of community means different things to different people, alongside what kind of connects to what we were saying, or what I was saying about why I went down this path, which is about identity as well.
That's true.
I'm slightly digressing from your question, but I think it's relevant.
That's excellent.
Because who am I? What makes me tick? Why do I wake up in the morning and feel good about me? Because it's important. And so what is my identity? And my identity is very much linked to my community.
Exactly. I think the community where you've come from sort of also helps shape your identity today.
Well, exactly. So, you know, I am a Malayali who grew up in Calcutta. I am a Calcuttan, I am a Londoner, I'm a Malayali, all of which are completely accurate. And I'm proud of all 3. I am a woman, I am a mother, I am a wife, I am a daughter, you know. All of those are very important. I'm a friend, I'm a supporter, I'm a mentor, I'm a coach. I mean, you can keep going. So,
That is such an important point, because community essentially is your identity gone beyond yourself.
Exactly.
Right? So if say I am just one person watching something that I like, that's just me. But say if what I'm watching is a Man United match, then suddenly now Man United fans have felt a lot of pain over the years because of the collective community pain. That as a group we have lost so much, and as a group we have suffered, and this year has been good though. But
I'm not a football fan. My nephews are Arsenal fans. They have had much more pain. They have had more pain.
But this year they are
very, very happy.
But that's what community is. It's
exactly.
Your identity changing in your brain.
I feel like you're born with a certain facet, and then you grow into other segments in life.
What do you mean by that?
So I feel like like you said, you come from a certain community, right? So that sort of helps shape your identity. But as and when you grow into the world, you sort of are also exposed to a lot of other facets in life, right? So that also helps shape you as an individual in the long run. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a second part to your question, I think.
Oh, there was?
I think something about trust, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, of course. Yes, another part of the question.
I feel like you've done your homework.
I'm listening. No, I was listening.
Yes,
actually
no, she's a good
listening.
listener. Yes, of course.
I love that.
One of the main focuses of community building is trust, right? So how do you go about building a trust in a community? Because without that being the key anchor, it's difficult to grow the community. So how do you build trust?
I can go. I mean, no, but I mean, just because I was just thinking about when I was flicking through your papers, that word jumped up at me, and I think if I can take away the word community from that question,
Yes.
how do you build trust?
Yes.
Question mark.
Yeah, literally.
I think that's far more important because if you build trust, then everything else follows in terms of if you and I need to build trust with each other, otherwise, and are we a community? I mean, so you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think certainly from my lived experience, trust, I suppose if I were to break it down, if I think about organizational trust and I think of personal individual trust, they're both the same, but I'm just deliberately I'm trying to think which one I should use as an example. Perhaps organizational because that would be more relevant to your questioning. So let's imagine that I am a leader in a large organization of 3,000 employees.
Yeah.
And I need to build trust in my organization.
Yes.
And I also need to earn trust
Yes.
in my organization. So there are two different aspects over here. And that is
Yeah.
so firstly, the 3,000 people are my community. So that does come back to your question. And then the idea of trust. How do we define trust?
Yes.
What does trust even mean to you and to me?
Yeah.
Why, where, oh, I trust that guy. Oh, I don't trust that guy. Why do we say that?
Yeah.
I think it comes down to the idea of, for example, reliability.
Yeah.
Oh, so Diksha, I'm the boss. And so Diksha, I'd like for you to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And I leave it with you. And then Sudiksha lets me down and does not do it as well as I wanted.
Yeah.
And does not ask me questions,
Yeah.
which comes down to another conversation. I'm beginning to think, not sure about that. Maybe I should be asking Siddhartha next time, because I'm not sure that I trust. But then we also have the idea of, it's a very complicated answer to your simple word about trust,
Yeah.
because it's also cultural.
Yeah.
And because I have a foot in two countries, I am very much Indian. I work a lot in India. And in fact, last year I was more in India than I was in the UK. But I'm very much a Londoner too, and I work in the UK and the US and Europe and, various different countries around the world. And the more I do it, I see a commonality, but there is also fundamental cultural differences.
I was just going to say, I think the word trust can also be very subjective.
Entirely,
Right.
Precisely what I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
But please, I can keep going, so you should interrupt without.
No, so trust is such a basic concept because if you say go back to a tribal time, right? Now I'm in the jungle and I come across you. That interaction entirely depends on trust. How do I know whether are you going to help me or hurt me? So our brain has allocated significant resources in the networks built for assessing this question. It is a huge question. How do I know whether should I cooperate with you or kill you?
Interesting.
And if you bring it down to an individual level, that is why biases are a part of the human brain.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Right? Why else will there be biases? So I will more likely trust you if you look like me. So if you don't look like me, I will not trust you because evolutionarily that means you are from a different tribe. And so you might kill me. But if you look like me, then you are more likely to help me. That's why so much has been put into analyzing body language. So if you are able to maintain eye contact with me, I'm likely to trust you. If you have a smile on your face, I'm likely to trust you. But if you're fidgety, if you're looking elsewhere, I'm not likely to trust you.
So basically looking for these signals.
Yes, but this
But
is
you
all
don't do
happening
it consciously.
Yeah,
subconsciously.
just subconsciously.
It's
all
entirely
subconscious,
instinctive, yeah.
right? So suppose if I'm talking to you like this, you're more likely to trust me. But if I'm talking to you like this, you're less likely to trust me. All of this is happening at such a subconscious level because for the brain, trust is probably the most important thing. If there is trust, there is safety, and then you are relaxed. If there's no trust, you are on guard.
Yeah.
So it's a very big question. I mean,
Huge.
imagine that let's imagine you're invited to a party.
Yeah.
And you arrive at that party, there are 30 people there already.
Yeah.
And the only person you know is your host.
Yeah.
And you don't know anybody else. And you walk in.
Excellent,
What
yeah.
is it that you do? Which is what you're saying, Siddharth. So you
Correct.
scan instinctively.
Yeah.
And then you go to X person. Why?
Yeah.
Why did you go to that person?
Yeah.
Often women will go to another woman.
Yeah.
Men will go to another man.
Yeah.
If, for example, it's London, which is a multicultural party, so you've got brown, black, white, whatever, lots of different looking people. Will I go to my fellow Indian rather than, even though it's a man, or will I choose to go to a woman?
Which identity will supersede
Precisely.
the other? Yes.
I mean, it's games that people play,
Yes.
Yeah.
There's this wonderful book, anyway, I won't.
Yeah.
Go back to your question.
But I love that you said the word game, because that is what game theory is actually
Eric
all
Berne,
about.
I was thinking about.
Yes.
Who's from the 70s for crying out
Yes,
loud.
because this has not changed.
Nothing
this
has
been
changed. Nothing has changed. It's been
since
around.
the beginning.
It has been there for the beginning, and we are just, for whatever reason, 30 years ago when I started working,
Yeah.
and today when I am working, the society, whether it's London or India, has changed. The expectations have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we are now more in touch with things like trust and communication and listening and body language and all the stuff that was always there.
Always there.
Millennia. That guy in the cave thinking, I know when that tiger comes in, I have to pick up a club and beat it down because I think I might die.
Yeah. True.
I mean, you know more than I do. You've got the brain experience.
No, but then the brain hasn't changed. So every time you understand the human behavior, I feel like trust is a great metric to view any interaction.
Absolutely.
So any interaction without trust automatically leads to threat, and over time anxiety and every other mental illness sort of coming from there. So trust is sort of at the root of everything that we associate with life being good. If you take out trust from any situation,
It's gone.
Yeah.
why are we sitting here so comfortably?
Yeah.
There is a basic level of trust
Trust
here,
that's been built.
right? But if suddenly someone gives any indication that that trust is misplaced, you will see a difference in all of our body language.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in fact, just kind of connected to that, just a slight extension on the idea of trust. Now, I assume that all three of us, I'll speak for myself, but I'm assuming that both of you as well, have had your trust abused at some point in your life. Between whenever you were compass mentis and engaging as whatever you call yourself, 15, 16, even 10.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
best friend lets you down.
Yeah.
And you know what that feels like, There is absolute, let's think of a best friend letting you down when you're 10 rather than when you're now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the trauma
Yeah.
of your trust being abused, and I'm quite deliberately using that word.
Yeah.
You've never forgotten it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Now, what does that then do in terms of trusting as you go forward for the rest of your lives?
Yeah.
What is it that you then do to protect yourself? And it could be very simply, for example, if I just continue with that example, let's just add some more context to it. So let's imagine I'm age 10 in school in Calcutta, and my best friend is somebody, well, Calcutta was full of Bengalis. So my best friend is somebody from a Pahari, from the north, from Himachal. But my bestest friend, we do everything together.
Yeah.
And I've even been with her to Sikkim, and I've, everything. And then when I am 10, she lets me down.
Yeah.
And she is mean to me, she bullies me, and then I never see. And I continue to see her in school,
Yeah.
but she's gone off with another friend. Now fast forward to today, and we're sitting around the table, and you say to me, oh, by the way, I am a Pahari. And I would like for you to corroborate what
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yep.
My entire body, my hair standing on end. I am nowhere near the age of 10. And my hair standing on end, oh shit. And I'm continuing to smile
Yeah.
because I have to, because we've confirmed we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
But my body is rigid,
Yeah.
my hair standing on end, and I'm not even aware that I have reacted the way I have.
Absolutely. This is so unfortunate that we are being controlled by forces that we are not even aware
The
of.
brain is incredible.
It is. And I had this experience with dogs.
Interesting.
Tell us.
When I was 7 or 8 years old, I was chased by a dog. I was going to my friend's house and I was ringing the bell and a dog ran down the stairs from above, tried to attack me. I ran for a minute climbing down the stairs.
Absolutely
It
petrified.
chased after me
Yeah.
and then I got into my car and it kind of jumped on the door.
Oh, God.
And I was shaking for maybe half an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was terrified of dogs for
Naturally.
the next 5-10 years until I met a dog that cured me.
You needed to do
You
that
have
though.
to
That's
face
what
your
it
You
has.
fears.
needed to do that.
That trust needs to be rebuilt.
It has to be rebuilt.
Yeah.
And your primitive, childish brain needs to understand that this dog does not equal all dogs.
All dogs.
Which is the fundamental lesson of all biases. That it was this dog, and not even this dog all the time.
Exactly.
It was this dog in this situation, it was very circumstantial.
Yeah.
But these are all nuanced thoughts.
But the point is we want to keep safe, right?
Exactly.
Our natural instinct of human nature is,
Yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
my trust to be abused again, whether it's
Yeah.
a friend
Yeah.
or whether it's a dog or
Yes.
whether it's anything else. So
Yeah.
we go like that instinctively. You know, it's that
Yeah.
back brain. You're going to tell me about the back brain.
Overcorrection.
Exactly.
We go into an overcorrection every time.
Yeah.
And unless you are made aware of it, and then you actively work on it, it is
Well,
very
unless
difficult.
you allow yourself to be made aware of it.
Yes.
There's a question. I mean,
Yes.
you know, do I need external help or can I self-reflect?
Yeah. So unless you suffer from the lack of growth, you will not grow.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's actually
Well
That's
said.
the point.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, coming on to our next question. Of course, we've spoken about how communities were inherited historically, right? Today, many are curated via interest, ambition, lifestyle, or ideology. Can curated ecosystems like these create a genuine feeling of belongingness?
But then again, the first word we have to ask is, what is belonging?
Yeah.
Think about, forget all the others.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I mean, you know,
That's the
what,
key
what does
point.
belonging mean?
Yeah.
And again, belonging is got so many answers.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
and again,
identity all over
Yeah.
again.
precisely.
identity.
We've already talked about belonging,
Yeah.
and the idea of belonging. You know, I belong to so many different environments.
Yeah.
I'm in London. You know, I've done it. I'm
Yeah.
not going to repeat
Yeah.
myself. And so when you're talking about ecosystems and community and building and all of that, if I go back to an organizational belonging, I think it depends very much on the model and the culture of the organization. And so if you look at even a small organization, just 100 employees, I keep using 3,000 for some inexplicable reason, let's make
Yeah.
it smaller, or 50 employees.
Right.
Yeah.
Do I feel that I have a sense of belonging when I go into the office every day? Do I feel this is my company? Am I feeling proud of it? And that has to come very much from a top-down approach. And that top-down approach has to be what we've already talked about, which
Yeah.
is about trust.
Yeah.
And which is about identity, which is about psychological safe spaces, which is, I mean, it's a myriad of things.
Yeah.
And then and now, whether it was 55 years ago or whether it is today, it remains the same.
Yeah.
And you can find two organizations, certainly from the point of view of the work that my companies do. I've seen it time and time again. So I'm just making up an example. You can have two organizations, both that make glasses. One does extremely well, the other does not do so well. Why? The glass is the same, the good looking glass and all of that. What's that about?
Yeah.
It's the lack of, your word, belonging.
Belonging.
They're coming and saying, oh God, okay, I have to get to the office again.
Yeah.
That drive, that motivation, that excitement, that energy, that need to want to make a difference, even though all I'm doing is getting a salary,
Yeah.
to sell that glass or to make that glass or to whatever it is I'm doing. Wasn't there an example that you might both remember about, I've forgotten which car it was, Ford I think, I can't remember, where obviously to make a car, to actually make a car, there are different people who do different bits.
Yes.
Do you remember the
Henry
story?
Ford and the factory bell.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah.
Henry Ford's story.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's the idea of belonging.
That's a great example. So I have a slightly different take on this.
Which is why I love this conversation.
Because I feel that, of course, belonging has been central to all lived experiences, but there is something that has changed over the years where I would say 100 years ago, belonging would be more often forced on you. in the sense that you belong to a particular religion, you belong to a particular caste, you belong, even the job that you do would be more often than not passed down from your dad and your grandfather. So the communities that you belong to, or the identities that you belong to, are sort of
inherited.
given. It's inherited.
Yeah, it's inherited.
And
But forced is a strong word, though, isn't it?
I agree.
Yeah.
But I can say that now. I'm sure it may not have felt forced then.
But then I would also argue that the idea of belonging being forced upon us happens today as well.
In what way?
The same examples you're giving. Not necessarily to you or me, because our parents didn't bring us up that way, but continues to happen the world over.
I agree. I would say that the number of people who are being forced might be lesser, or maybe that's just my optimistic take on the world. But that does open another door, like it's almost like a flip side, which is that our need for belonging hasn't changed, except that now if it's not handed to us, it's sort of up to us to choose then. So you choose to be in a book club. So that becomes a part of your belonging, but you chose it. It's not handed to you.
No.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why people might be struggling in cities is because that sense of belonging is not handed anymore.
Yeah.
Society does not really insist that you belong. They just want you to show up to work, work 9 hours a day and get back. Whether you have a sense of belonging or not, nobody cares. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that lack of belonging might be ironically coming down because it's not handed to you. And so the people who are able to figure out a sense of belonging by themselves are doing well. But there's a reason why loneliness is increasing. Whereas I would argue that in a village, with the sense of community already inbuilt in the system, each individual person doesn't have to make that choice to belong. So there's both sides of the coin.
No, this is a very valid thing, because I'm not talking about today, I'm talking about when I grew up in Calcutta.
Sure.
And again, talking about the privileged upbringing that I had. We have an ancestral home deep in the village in Kerala, in Palakkad.
Oh, how lovely.
And we have to literally, now we've got a side entrance for cars, but those days no cars, bullock carts walking through paddy fields and so on.
Oh, how
and then we would go back to Calcutta, to our cars, to our drivers, to our showers, to, I don't know whether we had air, but we had ceiling fans, you name it. And the whole idea of city, urban life to rural life. And the fact that my entire upbringing was unbelievably privileged because I had both. And again, it's looking back with the benefit of hindsight and thinking, what does that even mean to me? And you are right, because even today, when I go back home, as my mother would say, where is home? Home is where the hearth is what we normally say. Where mum is, or where I have a home in Calcutta, which we lock up most of the year, but we go in the winter. But I also have an ancestral home, where my maternal grandmother lived and died in. And that is home. And when you go there and you see, even today, we no longer have cows in the cowshed and all of that, but even today, the idea of community, which was your earlier question, and the idea of belonging, I agree with you. Whereas today, I imagine, in that same building in Calcutta that I grew up in, people don't even know what the other person is doing. And that's the point you're making.
Absolutely. I think, that's exactly what I was trying to say.
Interesting. Also, I wanted to understand, Siddharth, from your perspective, neurologically speaking, what is the difference between feeling socially visible versus feeling genuinely seen, right? Because you're obviously coming from a perspective where back in the day, like you said, the other person, you would be so interconnected within your communities. But now we're living at an age where probably your next door neighbor doesn't even know you, right? So in an environment like that, how does your brain sort of navigate a situation like this?
So our brain it puts a lot of importance on being seen. Just the simple act of making eye contact sets off a spike. So there's a spike of adrenaline first, interestingly. So when you make eye contact with somebody, say you're sitting at a cafe, you just look up and somebody's sitting on the next table and you just make eye contact. The first reaction is an adrenaline spike. So your brain you can look at it as stressed, but you can also look at it as excited because it's just adrenaline. The difference between stress and excitement is context. To the brain, it's just an adrenaline spike. And immediately after that, if there is no threat, there's a dopamine spike.
Interesting.
So you feel good when you are seen, or when you see someone seeing you, you feel good. Now, it's that same interaction that if you take to a digital world,
Exactly.
when somebody hits the like button on your Instagram post, if somebody shares
That's
your
a whole
Instagram.
other
Yes,
conversation.
exactly.
Yes. But
That's when I say, ayo.
Ayo. Exactly. But those interactions are basically built on top of an ancient neural network,
course.
right? Which is somebody see me. That's what the brain is always looking at.
Yeah.
Can someone see me?
And that's how you get the new dopamine hit.
That's the
in
new
Disney.
dopamine hit.
Yeah.
But the second part of your question is when you feel truly seen.
Yeah.
That involves you being vulnerable and someone else giving you a sense of safety. That does not happen on social media.
Thank the Lord.
That is a very intimate, that's a very personal interaction that
What about the idea of listening, Siddharth? Because what are the two words you use? Visible and invisible.
Yes. Yes. Socially visible and feeling genuinely seen.
social visibility
Okay, and being
as
genuinely
one.
seen.
Yeah.
So, when you asked that question, the first word that jumped in my head, and I was thinking while you were speaking, was the idea of genuinely listening.
Right.
And so, again, I go back to the example of an organization or a party or even a small group. Let's bring it down to 10 people instead of 300. I keep reducing it.
Yeah.
And when we are listening, what we tend to do is already have an answer before we have finished listening. So when you are talking, I'm thinking, when he finishes, I'm going to interrupt him and go X, Y, Z. But actually I wasn't, because the listen word came into my head and I left it there and I was focusing on you.
Right.
But if I hadn't been focusing on you, I would be already constructing my sentence.
Yes.
And then am I giving you the visibility and the respect and the acknowledgement of feeling seen?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Because that's what this is about. That's
Yeah.
what you're asking.
Exactly.
I want to feel seen. I want to feel that in this environment, wherever we are, I am being, when we use the word seen, I'm adding another word, heard.
Yes. Exactly.
And that's what I'm hearing you say. And it's more than the dopamine as well in some ways.
It is.
Yeah.
Because I'm feeling excited because I've had the eye contact and so on. But then I'm feeling really, really excited because you are genuinely engaging with me. Genuinely, from my perspective.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes
Of
complete
course.
sense. Because even from a chemical sense, after the adrenaline and the dopamine, the remaining part of the happiness spectrum comes at that stage of the conversation, where you are seen and heard. That is when the serotonin spikes start and the oxytocin spikes start, because those things don't come very early on. That only comes with safety, with a sense of bonding or with a sense of community. And that is where true happiness lies, because that early spikes, I don't even think are genuine happiness moments anymore, because they will come and go and they will not leave any lasting impact. You can get 100 likes on your post, but the next second, if somebody puts a bad comment, it's gone.
It's gone.
The happiness of the 100 likes is gone, whereas happiness of a good conversation doesn't go.
Yeah.
You know, when you
It
use
stays
the
on.
word vulnerability,
Yeah.
can you expand on that?
Absolutely. So we are all very much on guard
Yeah.
all the time because we are threatened. Even though we are in a room that seems safe, our primitive brain still feels like we are in the jungle. There is a tiger hiding behind there somewhere, so I need to be on my guard.
Guards. Yeah.
So the idea of showing vulnerability, to actually come out and say that, hey, listen, I'm feeling nervous, is me putting down my weapons. Now, if at that time you leave or you don't listen to me, that is the equivalent of a tiger attacking me.
Will
And
you
I
not
will
be
feel,
heard?
yes. because I was vulnerable.
Yeah.
You didn't give me space.
You didn't,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now my brain has interpreted that as me being an idiot. Why would you put your weapons down? You
Yeah,
know
you-
this is a
you look
dangerous
such a
thing.
fool.
I am such
Yeah.
an idiot.
Slapped wrist.
Yeah.
Yes. So punish. Dopamine falls. You feel very bad. Never again. I will make a mental note. Never again will I put my weapons down. So that is why not being seen and heard feels like a punishment. So that's why people are not vulnerable. They don't want to put their weapons down.
No,
But
they're
then-
protecting themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you know, but what you're saying also then, I think reminds me of who are those guys? Joe Harry's window of communication. That goes back to the, I think the 60s or 70s. J-O and then capital H-A-R-I. So whether it's Hari or Harry, I don't know. I actually don't know.
Yeah.
So forgive me. So if it's Hari, forgive me, Hari, wherever you are. And essentially, they talk about something that you've just mentioned, and we are linking everything that we're saying. I'm sure.
course.
I'm
Yeah.
sure we all know that.
Yeah.
But this idea of trust and communication and feeling seen is all connected in my head anyway.
Yeah.
And Joe Harry's window of communication, just visualize 4 windows, and they simply put, you must know this, 4 windows, and the 4 windows are, and I'm slightly paraphrasing, I'm the boss, and I know what we're going to be doing, but the 2 of you in my team haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
I'm the boss, and you both know. And then the third one is neither me nor you know what we're doing. And then the fourth is I'm showing, and I'm using your word, some vulnerability to the 2 of you in my team, which then builds trust.
Yes, it all ties back to
It
that.
all ties back to that also. And so then it's not about my getting a dopamine hit or feeling good, but what it is doing as the boss in an organization is creating a different line of communication. I am being seen, and you know in your heart that you're being seen too, because I have shown my vulnerability.
Absolutely. And for a boss to do that
But it has to be
traditionally is
done.
difficult.
But this was 1970, I'm making
Yes.
up 75.
Yeah.
Yes.
That it was then.
Yeah.
Are we doing it? Some people try,
Yes.
but you're right.
I think
it's
the
very
good
hard.
leaders do it.
Good leaders do it.
Yeah.
And they're therefore successful.
Therefore, there's.
My next question I wanted to ask, slightly shifting focus a little, is what does the new social contract look like? What do communities in this day and age, so as to speak of today, sort of look like?
I'm not sure about the word new. Because I think it's evolving all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I think, firstly, I'm always looking at your words. I'm thinking, what do you mean by social contract? What do you mean by community? You know, each of these things mean different
Something,
things to each of us. And what is a new, I don't know. What is a new social contract? What is it from your perspective?
It's what you're saying is absolutely right, that it's always an evolving spectrum.
Yeah.
So every 10 years, I would say social contract, the simplistic explanation is the unwritten understanding that all of us have of how we will behave
How to
with each
behave.
other.
How to behave.
Right. So it's very contextual, because right now, in a peaceful podcast setting, we will behave in a certain way with each other.
Yeah.
If there is a war right now,
Yeah.
and there is a mob coming to attack us, we will be behaving very differently with each other, because our brain is constantly reacting to our environment. So that social contract is and always will be a fluid one.
It has to be.
It has
so
to be.
therefore, the word
Yeah.
new, I think we need to get out of it.
Cannot, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not about new. It's
Yeah.
about how does it evolve?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
yes.
and you know, depending on the situation,
Yeah.
our social contracts will keep changing and evolving.
Yeah.
So again, go back to an organization of 10 people, 50 people, 3,000 people. The social contracts that we make within a very large organization, my team, or you know, your team will have a
Yeah.
certain kind of community social contract, what we need to do.
Yeah.
And we also have to be part of the larger communication and social contracts that we've created within the organization.
Yeah.
And also within at home. And you know,
Yeah.
it's I don't know about the word new. Ask your question again.
No, so it was, you basically encapsulated that. How do you go on from changing communities that were inherited, that we spoke about, to how
like
is
the
it-
religious and so on,
Yes,
those kind of
yes, like
right.
institutions and
There is one interesting take on this though, which social media did not exist previously. So the way that human beings have communicated with each other throughout, since we've started communicating, has always been through one-on-one conversations. Then we had books, newspapers, but even that, there was like a one-way stream. Never before has so many people, or we could say almost everyone in the world, have had access to everybody else in the world in real time and their unfiltered thoughts. Because even writing a newspaper article, you still have 3 drafts before you
Yeah.
hit publish.
yeah.
A book would take a year. A tweet takes 10 seconds. You may have just woken up. You're in the middle of the night, you were feeling angry, you're drunk, and you can still put out a tweet
Oops.
and the whole world has seen it.
Yeah.
So the circumstances of our social contract has definitely changed. So I still think it's an interesting discussion that in this situation, do we need to change something about our expectation
That's
from
very,
each other?
That's a very good
Probably.
point. It's a very valid point.
Yeah.
Because then it really does, the whole idea of expectations, that then comes down to, again, it also comes down to trust.
Exactly.
It's linked to
Yes.
that as well.
Yes.
And it's, so do we start changing, within a workplace organization kind of social contract? Do we say that my only expectation is you lob up into work, you do your work and you go home, and I really don't want anything else to do with you.
Yeah.
And that's good enough for me. That is my expectation. Therefore, I will trust you to make that glass, put it properly on the side, or whether you're marketing, whatever your department might be, and be done with it. Or are my expectations to grow something that is more than just the making of a glass?
Yeah.
And therefore, I want to create a different kind of social contract.
Yeah.
So I think the word expectation is a very crucial
Is
one.
the crucial one. So I would just like to ask, out of my curiosity, earlier, a workplace personality and the home personality were very separate.
Yeah.
So people will come to work and they'll go back and nobody knows what you do at home. Today, everybody knows what you do at home. So should that affect the workplace social contract? If you read that your colleague has tweeted something extremely racist, they're working well.
I love it.
Does that
I love
affect
it.
you?
I love it. I
Does
love
that
it.
affect your social contract? Does that affect the way you look at that person?
Firstly, before I answer that part of the question, I
Yeah.
want to just react to the first part of your question, because don't forget, I am older than you, not necessarily wiser, and I have been working for a long time,
Yes.
and I always took my home to my work and my work to my home.
Okay.
When I was employed, and when you're working for yourself, you've always got both.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's by the by.
That makes sense.
But it's to me, the question that you've asked is a superb question, because it isn't even about a tweet. You could just have overheard it. You're making a coffee
Yeah.
in the office. It is not even a tweet. You're in the office and you're making a coffee, and behind your back, you're not engaged with them at all. You are hearing somebody make an extremely racist comment about another individual. What is it that you should do?
Yeah.
My question to you both and to myself and so on, it then comes down to the word of values.
Yeah.
What is it that matters to me? How important is it to me that I come into work and I feel safe? Is this a psychologically safe place?
Yeah.
And let's assume I'm white,
Yeah.
just for this context, in an organization in London, and I have heard this racist comment. Let's just assume that. It is a very different thought that will come into my head for the sake of this conversation. Obviously, I am not white, and therefore I am going to think, obviously, I need to protect myself too. So that's an easier answer.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes,
So I think it comes down more to our values.
Right.
What is important to me? What is it that makes me keep my head held high and go to bed at night knowing I've done a good job and I want to stick to it? And I think that's really important. As we get older, I think, to me, the idea of community building, trust, growth, all of these things, that the words that you are suggesting, have to actually come down to, who am I? What matters to me?
Your
And what I do at
identity.
home, and what I do at work should be the same, because I want the same level of psychological safety where my children can come and talk to me and tell me about their worries, and my colleagues can come and talk to me and tell me about their worries. I can show my vulnerability to my husband or my children. I can show my vulnerability to my colleagues. Does that? And
Absolutely.
therefore, long answer to your question, if it were me personally, I would go up to that person who made the racist comment. Yeah, but I wouldn't do it in front of anybody, because it is not about naming and shaming. Because if I go like this to you, how do you feel? You're gone like that. So I'm not going to do that to you. I'm going to take you aside and say, hey, I was making a coffee and I overheard. What was that about? That's really, and be really friendly, very gentle, and maybe they will reflect, because sometimes people say things because of their own narrative, and we have no clue what their narrative is. So we can't shove things down the throat.
Yes. So Smita, taking cues from what you spoke about values, I remember in your podcast, you've spoken about how biases shape many of our decisions today, right? How do these biases often, and I've seen, and you've also spoken about these certain biases also tend to build stronger communities. Could you elaborate a little on that?
I mean, bias is simply put, and my medical doctor sitting opposite me can add to it, is very much what we talked about earlier, which is about our life experiences. We want to keep safe. And because we want, the example I gave you, being bullied by a kid when I was 10 years old, that then comes into my back brain, and I deliberately use very simple language. I leave you to use the convoluted one. And so my back brain is there to protect me. And so you go into that party or whatever. So there are different kinds of biases, all cognitive biases, where the brain is jumping to conclusions without you even realizing it. So what I'm talking about is it's faster, the brain is moving faster, and correct me if I'm wrong, than this click of my finger.
So basically, before you can even think your bias,
you haven't realized you've thought it. This is so fast. How fast is this? I don't know what tenth of a millisecond that is. And you've already jumped to a conclusion. And it could be confirmation bias, for example. So, for example, let's say I'm doing interviews in an organization, and I will continue with the example of the Pahari kid bullying me, just for this context, because why create a new story? And I've got now 3 final interviews, and I've got a Bengali. I'm Malayali, so we won't have any Malayalis in there. I have a Bengali, a Rajasthani, and a Pahari. It doesn't matter what their gender, they have excellent CVs. This is final interview. Now, from my perspective, when I am asking the Pahari questions, the way I am asking those questions, same questions I'm asking all 3, but my body language and the way I ask it, instead of, if I were you, if I was speaking to the Rajasthan, so Siddharth, so tell me about da-da-da-da-da. If I'm speaking to the Pahari, yes, continue, tell me more. And then my fellow panelists and I agree that the Pahari doesn't get the job. And I say, see, I knew I was right. Confirmation bias. I knew I was right. Who likes to be wrong? None of us like to be wrong. So there's one little example. The psychologists have done a lot of work around different cognitive biases, luckily for me. So they can do all the work and then I can use them. And there are at least 160 cognitive, unconscious, implicit biases as we speak today. One of them is confirmation bias. Then Daniel Kahneman, this wonderful psychologist, and I urge you all, the listeners, to go and listen to him, podcast by him, read his book, Thinking Fast and Slow. I mean, he is fabulous. He only died last year. And he's a brilliant man, where he's talking about the idea of thinking fast and slow and how our brain thinks fast and thinks slow. And we need to slow down. And he brings up the idea of anchor bias. And anchor bias, very simply put, in fact, the experiment that he does with a group of people in the US is he takes 2 groups of people who clearly don't know enough about Mahatma Gandhi, and he asks them, how old was Mahatma Gandhi when he died? And I'm now making up the number because I can't remember. So he asked group 1, was Gandhi, I'm making up a number, 55, and he asked group 2, was Gandhi 103? And they'd use that age as an anchor And group 1, that's an anchor bias.
Yeah.
Choose an age closer to the age that was offered to them. Car salesmen do this. Second-hand car salesman, you go to buy a second-hand car. Arey, it's only, it's only 1 lakh and you'll get and you think, I've got a steal, I got it for X amount.
Yeah.
Actually, they're already making money,
Yeah.
but they use the anchor bias. So the idea of biases, whether it's anchor bias, cognitive bias, perception bias, which you were talking about earlier, I look at you and we look the same, and therefore there is an unconscious connection between us. And another 155 types of biases are all swiveling about in our head at the same time. So what does that then do to our brain, Dr. Saib, in terms of how we can then make rational, calm, let's go back to the interview conversation, and I am now interviewing, can I be genuinely fair and genuinely give the right person the job? Am I doing the right thing by the people I'm communicating with? I mean, it's huge. It's really huge. I'd love a response to that.
The short answer is no.
Exactly.
I don't think you can
You can't.
ever.
You can't.
Because there is no possible way for you to be rid of your biases.
Exactly.
It's
But
not
there is
possible.
reflection.
There is reflection.
So you can at least reflect about the being bullied at the age of 10.
Yes.
And say, or you can reflect about a dog chasing you.
Yes.
And you can say, from now on, I know that I am going to seek out more dogs or more Pahadi friends or whatever it might be. That much you can do.
Yes, but it'll take a lot of effort because
You have to be brave.
you have to be brave and you have to have external sources of confirmation.
Yes.
You
Well done,
cannot-
you. Siddharth, see, you've got a new dog friend or whatever, yes.
Yes,
You're
exactly.
always looking for those external signals. for
Yeah.
yourself.
Always.
Yeah.
So there's a word called heuristic.
Of course, which is what
Heuristic.
I'm talking about.
Right, so
where
it's
the
the-
brain is moving that fast.
It's just a shortcut.
Yeah.
So if the brain says A, therefore B.
Yeah. Which is what
Whereas-
Daniel Kahneman is talking about.
Is right. So every time if you have to calculate, it'll take a lot of effort. So it doesn't want to calculate. So the brain says, I've done the calculation once. Dogs equal danger. Now I don't need to keep calculating. Let me just live the rest of my life.
Because you want to be safe.
Because
You
I want to
wanna
be
be
safe, right? So in order to get rid of your biases, you have to be willing to put in that effort again and again and again.
And you have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I just, I can just share a silly, implicit bias that I jumped to, which was gender bias. So, so this was 2019. My husband and I were in a head-on car collision, nearly died, lucky to be alive, all of that. Move on from there. We're back home now in London. And my son's two different friends, independently of themselves, come and give me a bunch of flowers. And I am very touched. But then I say to Nihal, because Paula gave me a bunch of flowers and Ben gave me a bunch of flowers. And you know what I said to my son? I said, I'm so impressed with Ben that he gave me flowers. As soon as it came out of my mouth, and this is what I do for a living. I live this, I breathe it, I work with it, but as you correctly said, we will still make mistakes. And it didn't matter then. I wasn't doing interviews, I was in a safe place. But as soon as I said it, I said, oops, there's a gender bias. I had a higher expectation of a woman, same age, these two
same
people,
age.
in their early 20s. I had a higher expectation of a woman wanting to buy flowers and give it to me than a man wanting to buy flowers.
Because that instinctively just kicks in.
Because it's about social identity as well.
Yeah.
It's about how we've grown up seeing things and how we. There's just so much going into that.
The bar is lower.
It's sorry.
So follow up to that question would be, what is the one step that you take to recognize the bias in your workplace, daily life?
Well, as I said, as soon as it slips out of your mouth, which it will, because it will, there is no question about it. We are just human beings, and this brain is moving so fast, and we have got 100 different experiences in our head, narratives that are influencing us. We won't know, but you can reflect when you're in the car driving home, and you're thinking, "Oh, did I really say that? Did I mean that? Should I have said that? What do you think could have been my story? Was there something else? Was there a backstory that I hadn't even been aware of?" that influenced me to say that.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
Yeah.
But it is, be gentle on yourself, be kind to yourself, do not beat yourselves up, because let me tell you, you'll do it again.
Yeah.
And you'll do it again. And you'll do it again. And that's okay. But ignoring it is not such a good thing in the workplace, because then you're actually being unfair. And if you are a senior leader in an organization and you want to grow a good culture, then you've got to start thinking about this, about what is my story.
Yeah.
And I have to reflect on it.
And a fundamental sense of curiosity about yourself.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Too many times we take ourselves for granted. कि मैं ऐसे ही हूँ. This is who I am.
We have our own
Therefore,
sense of, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, so when I say I did this because that's who I am, we are basically closing that door of self-exploration. But if you were to ask yourself, I know I did this, but why did I do this?
Precisely. Thank you.
Then you get into that rabbit hole. You start,
Yeah.
following that thread,
Yeah.
and you will come across interesting things about yourself. Now, the risk is that you might find paradoxes.
Which is fine. Which is why
fine.
you have to be a bit brave.
Yes, exactly. So one thing that has helped me is to not trust my own thoughts.
Oh, I mean, that's a big sentence.
It is
excuse
a
me.
big sentence. So I'll tell you why. Because when you feel an emotion, the thoughts that you get are the closest words that your primitive brain has access to in that moment.
Correct, yeah.
Interesting.
Now the problem is that all the complicated words are in your prefrontal cortex. The limbic system has access to very few words. So the more emotional you are, the more simplistic your thoughts are. But if you were to double down on that simplistic thought, you are doing yourself a disservice. So the reason that I found out about this is because I started writing, journaling, whatever you call it. And if you write down your simplistic thoughts in the moment of emotion, and you read it after 3 days, you will realize, oh, this is very
That just
silly.
reminds me, I mean, what you've just said, it reminds me of a woman, what is her name? Rita Sharon, C-H-A-R-O-N. She used to be a professor at Columbia University teaching medical students.
Oh,
Do you know
lovely.
the story?
No, I don't. Please tell me.
And so she was teaching medical students, and she was finding that at some point, obviously, and you will know this better than I do, you have to go to a real life patient. And then your thoughts are coming in your head,
Yes.
and I'm making up a story, and you're looking at this old man, and you're thinking of your grandfather,
Oh,
and
yes.
you're not able to be medically, you've learned so much.
Yeah.
But when the practice comes into it,
Yeah.
it's difficult.
Yeah.
So she suggested to her medical students, which as far as I know is now, and I don't know if you were encouraged to do this when you were a medical student, create an emotional journal, which is what you are doing.
Yeah.
And to create the emotional journal is to have some quiet time in the college itself or wherever you are in the hospital, and sit quietly and say, oh yeah, I saw that man. He suddenly remembered my granddad who was very, very ill before he died, and I was really upset, and whatever it is. Words. You
Put
don't
it
have
out.
to. You don't have to write it, a long Mahabharata or anything.
Yeah.
But and also, the idea of putting what's in your head onto a paper means it has left you.
Yeah.
And so now there's your paper, and you're looking at the paper. And I am looking at it. When I'm looking at it, it is talking to me
Yeah.
rather than, and this is the idea of what the other Daniel does, Daniel Goleman, and the idea of emotional resilience. And the brain is going brrrr, and it's beating you up.
Yes.
You know, how useless could I have been? What you said much earlier on in our conversation about, showing vulnerability and being let down, and now you're beating yourself up. I'm connecting to that point that you said. But if you had instead written it down, you wouldn't have beaten yourself up. You would have read it and thought, actually, it was that guy who chose not to be there and he disappeared, and it's okay. But if you hadn't written it down, then the brain, it's what we call very simply in my language, not brain language, the idea of self-management. The self-talk. The self-talk that's going on in my head. And to genuinely be connecting and building relationships with other people, we have to first think of me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
And so you are doing that instinctively, or you're doing that because you are working with neuroscience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. All right. Digressing a little bit, coming back to co-working spaces, since I know you work with a lot of organizations, institutions, as obviously we all know, co-working thing and shared work environments continue to grow globally and in India, of course. How is the idea of workplace culture also changing with co-working systems coming into being?
I mean, it's interesting you ask that question because it's about cross-cultural communication, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I did a keynote recently, which is why it's easy for me to answer that question. It's in my head, on cross-cultural communication with an organization that is a global organization. And in that audience, there were many different nationalities. And there's very simply high context and low context. I'm being very, very simple. So high context meaning if I'm asking you to do something, I don't give you specific how you have to do it. I make assumptions about you. There will be lots of underlying, you've done that before, it'll be fine, that kind of expectation.
Yeah.
And low context is you have to give full detail on it. And so, for example, people in India, and this also actually goes back to the much earlier question about trust.
Trust.
So, let me connect the two and give you a true story. It just suddenly came to me in my head. So, an organization that will remain nameless, that is in India, and also has an office in London. And this lady shares a story with me, true story. So she's only ever worked in India for that organization. She's now transferred to London for the first time, abroad. She's never worked in the UK. And she's in the office and she meets her boss, male, white Englishman. And she's chatting with him. And he says, would you like a cup of tea? And she said, I'd love a cup of tea. So he gets up and goes to the kitchen area to make her a cup of tea. She tells me she froze. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know where to look. She'd never in her life had that experience. And she just sat there. She couldn't follow him. She couldn't. She was like, why?
Yeah.
Because we know that in India, if the boss said, would you like a cup of tea? And you said yes, he'll be calling that guy from there to get you the cup of tea.
Yeah.
It's cultural.
Yeah.
Trust. In India, and I'm being very, very simplistic, when I hire you to work for me, the expectation is that you have to earn my trust. Therefore, you have to work extremely hard to show me that I did the right thing. When I hire you in London, the expectation is, I've hired you because I know you can do it, I'm going to let you get on with it. Now, think of that poor girl from India having arrived in London. What do you think her colleagues are thinking about? They think she's sucking up to the boss. But she's not. All she's doing is how she's been trained culturally to prove to the boss that she can do the work. And the boss is thinking, because he's not Indian, what is wrong with her? Why does she have to keep doing this?
Why is she calling me sir?
That's a whole other conversation.
Right.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
When I'm teaching, because I teach postgraduate students in India,
Okay.
and they say ma'am, and I say no, my name is Smita, please call me Smita, and their poor things are frozen.
Yeah.
And they look at me and say, huh? I said, but you're going to go into the office and you're going to have people who are clearly going to be older than you. And if you have that cultural divide from day one, then the connection of all the things that you've been talking about, building community, belonging. Trust, identity, I mean, what else were we talking about?
Beautiful.
It's all there under one umbrella.
Yeah.
If we don't think about the culture, simply put, I mean, we can think of all the other cultures, which is sweet, like Malayalis will go like this way, yes, and somebody else will go like this way. I mean, all of that is sweet and funny and cute. But underlying, we are, especially my podcast has taught me that, because I have spoken to people in countries that I've never been to. That's the beauty about modern sciences. That I am very grateful for. And I probably will never go to, because I don't want to go there maybe. And it doesn't matter which country it is. But the stories are all the same. All of them have their stories of challenges, of their narrative influencing them, how they've overcome the challenges. The only difference is the cultural differences. Otherwise, the fundamental stories, whether it's you or me, whether it's somebody in Tanzania, somebody in the United States, somebody in Morocco, somebody in China, we are all, and that is the power of human beings, I think.
Same brain.
Yeah, same brain. Thank you, yes.
Interesting, interesting. And to conclude, thank you so much, Siddharth and Smita, for coming through. Lovely, lovely conversation around the new social contract. I'm sure there's something to learn for all of us.